What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Alex CFE, and today we have another video. So today we're going to be looking at some results. So over the past weekend, we had both Vienna and the Rosemont BCS. So I think that overall we have a pretty good amount of results now to start to look at and kind of say like, yes, this is meta, no, this is not, and just some really mixed results in general that I want to go over with you guys, because I don't think things are completely solid. I think it's a very open meta at the moment. I think a lot of people are calling for things and it's just not really panning out necessarily that way. So without further ado, let's hop right in. We're going to start off with premium, then get into standard, and then V. I'll time standard below, so if you want to skip around, go for it. But first and foremost, congrats to all the players who have topped and who have qualified for Worlds. Even if you didn't, you should still be proud of yourself for competing, just going to the events in and of themselves. I know it takes a lot out of some people, so some people can't make it. Consider yourself very fortunate if you can in a way, and just enjoy the times. Like just have a great time with it. We're all here to have fun. But getting right into it now with premium. So first off, DI took first, and this is a deck that has been around for a while. I think that people are not sleeping on this deck, but they disrespect it in a lot of ways. They say it's not consistent, and yeah, it can sometimes be very inconsistent. But when it goes off, it goes off. And like, if you're a good player with this deck, like, the ceiling is one of the highest in the game right now, and I think this is just an absolutely amazing deck. I think it does get shut off by certain things, but at the same time, we clearly see it did take first. Narukami, very, very popular, I guess, in the Midwest over here, taking second and third, as well as Steam Maidens still coming in fourth. Steam Maidens is still alive, and I'll get into that as we kind of go over the list, but let's hop right into it. This is pretty much the tried and true NLK Barrow. You go into the NLK, pop out the Barrow, go into the strides, you're basically swinging 3 Vanguard attacks, multi-attacks, all very substantial numbers. I don't think there's anything crazy with the list. We did get the promo for DI over here, the deep, how do you say this, Gelidus, or something like that. Very, very good card. I think the big exclusion, I know it's in here, yeah, is obviously the Emblem Master, but I don't think we were playing that for quite some time now. So very standard list overall with the Assassin, the one of this right there, I like that. Pretty much nothing to kind of point out like any crazy amount. You have that, obviously you have the new Messiah in here, the Blade of Aramis. Yeah, very standard kind of G-Zone as well, nothing too crazy. I think, like I said, this deck has been around for a while, and I don't think the history collection kind of dictates saying that you don't necessarily have to go there and like use a history collection deck. Like, there are decks like this and can high roll to the win, decks that still are viable outside of history collection. But hopping to a deck that is pretty much using the history collection stuff, this is the correct build, I believe. This is definitely a build that I agree with to an extent. I think it's a meta call whether or not to include 2 of the Hanali. If you really value the multi-attack, is what it is, but otherwise the Steve going first, going to the Vanquisher. Steve otherwise is just such a good resource engine. You're just on Exterminate anyway, like you're gonna do Exterminate things, it's super easy. Obviously the Verena Esperardia over here, you have your Restanders into Soul, just draw your resource engine. Everything is very, very consistent. I like this 2-2 split personally. You can choose to go for on either one of these if you really want, but again, a meta call if you really want to use Hanley. I think it could save you in some situations, and it's just like a good preventative method otherwise. It's really nice too to see the into Soul countercharger as well for what is it for Narukami over here. Yeah, it does have the Eradicator name in it too. Very rare card. They should have reprinted that, I feel like. But same kind of deal with the third place deck here. I think this person, what was it? They are excluding, yeah, they're excluding the Hanali. I think they upped, what was it, the Spark Raised Dragon? No, something else. I don't know exactly what the ratio is that they upped over here, but maybe they cut down one of these to add another one of that, and I think one of the card here. I'm not 100%, but anyway, oh yeah, they have that. I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but again, very, very simple, very easy. I think this is definitely the solid list. The defensive build is just not worth it anymore. This is a very, very solid list overall. Again, the Exterminate at the correct ratio, the one of here, the 2 of the on stride, just very, very solid. And I think you should expect going forward to see some Narukami, especially because it is a good counter to bugs. And over here we see this like Jet Maiden kind of thing going on, and this isn't like the traditional Jet Maiden ride down that you're thinking of. All of that deck is still technically alive. There are 3 variants of this deck. This is more pure Maidens, just with his Jet like going first kind of option. There's not as many time leap kind of things going on over here, but that's okay. There's no Melons in this deck. Actually, this is actually a very straightforward deck. I think that the inclusion of Karunta is pretty cool over here. That is a little bit different than what we've seen traditionally in the past, but 2 of the TikTok workers still kind of give you access to that. It is really nice to actually see this deck still doing well, and hopefully without the Enteron, or at least at 1, I guess that's like fair enough. But yeah, this deck is still alive. There is the Time Leap version, like I said, and there's also the pure Crest Jet build as well. So there's like Crestless Jet. There's like a bunch of different builds for this, and I think there's a lot of ways you can take Gear Chronicle at this point, and it's not like a dead deck at all. So congrats again to the top 4 right over there. Let's actually just look at the top 8 really quickly before we move on. So 5 Narukami, 1 Gear Chronicle, 1 Dark Irregulars, and 1 Oracle Think Tank. So Oracle Think Tank is actually kind of a scary deck. There are ways you can build it that can make it actually pretty strong, something that I kind of slept on until I was recently kind of made aware how good it actually can be. But I think 5 Narakamis, I'm not sure we're going to see that again this season, but I think it's definitely a deck. It's pretty much been the same deck. It's just it has a new inclusion of Vanquisher in here, so just be prepared for that. But getting into the Austria top 4, and I know there was I believe there was about 90 players in this, so there actually was a lot. I know some European BCSs don't have the attendance like we have and stuff, but I think this is actually a very legit BCS. A lot of good players went to this one, I know, so congrats again to everybody who did top this over here. But we see Night Rose number 1, we see Narukami as 2, we see actually Jewel Knights 3rd, and then Angel Gize is 4th. This is kind of crazy. But overall, like I said, I don't disrespect these results. I think that there was a lot going on, and I think that people made meta calls, and yeah. So we see Chaos is topping, but it didn't actually get into the top 4 here. I think it's still one of the best decks, bar none. Over here, Angel Gize, there's 2 of Angel Feather players. I don't know if they're both Angel Gize or not, but Gear Chronicle, again, obviously the Salome over here with the Jewel Knight Premium, 1 Narukami and then 1 Grand Blue. And let's get into the lists themselves now. We're going to check it out with Grand Blue. And again, I don't think there's anything crazy here. Well, I forgot what this guy does over here. Chosen by any fighter. The effect, bonus card chooses this unit as much as possible. I forgot exactly what that is for, but you know, you have your basic interruptions, the Cannoneer, you have, you know, your Skull Dragons to close out, 2 of the Beatrice, 3 of the G1, 1 of the V1. I think there's an interaction with the V1, I think, that stops like Melissa or something like that, so maybe you have it in there, but I think you just run 1 anyway. That is correct. We have the new crits over here. We also have into soul crits over here. You get to draw a card, just extend a little bit further. 1 Hanali. Again, this is like a toolbox deck, so you can kind of get this when you want, but at the same time, I think that this is not super duper standard, but pretty all there. If you've seen Grand Blue before, you're probably familiar with kind of what this does, what the build kind of does in general. You can end on your Bartholomew. You can also just go into Bad Bounty, Big Obadiah, a lot of solid G-Guards over here as well, and of course the new Ride Up Stride. Getting you 2 protect markers does help you a lot. I feel like it's really actually impactful in the game. And then going into the Narukami, this person chose to run the Anastasia just for the counter charge. I don't know if I agree with that 100%, but again, they top and I didn't right now, so maybe they know a little bit more than me. But aside from that, I think that, yeah, this really is the build. This is the more settled. Take your variant of it. I see over here we do have Forbidal over here, so you can kind of go grab the Verena Esperardi, and they're running it at a 1 of. I like 2 of personally, but again, just totally change it up for you. G-Zone, pretty much the same thing. We aren't seeing the Dragveta or the Progenitor Dragon as well, so that's just 1 difference. But again, it's pretty much exterminate the deck. Sometimes you go into the Stunverse if you're trying to do other plays with that, so that is an option as well. The Jewel Knights, I don't really know Jewel Knights Premium. I've played against it once or twice, but this is a really cool inclusion. Nice to see it here. We have a couple different variants of the same alt mile, but 3 alt mile, and it looks like there is a split now with the Jewel Knights. They have a really solid going first strategy, just like a really great beatdown turn actually with the on stride guy over here, which is really cool overall. Search your deck for the 1 grade 2 Gerda card, basically spams more attacks. Really nice consistency boost. I personally really actually think this is cool, and they're not running the dog. I think the dog is like the really expensive card in here, so aside from Crystal Lusters, but you know, you're giving yourself multiple options. I feel like there's 2 different strategies within this deck, and I think that's really cool. And there's just a lot of multi-attack and a lot of stuff that you can do in general. Jewel Knights are just extremely difficult to kind of get around, especially in V. In Premium as well, I guess they're proving to be pretty good, but I think this is more like a rogue, definitely a rogue pick. I don't know that we'll see another one of these over the season, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised at the same time. And then Angel Gize over here. Yeah, I got the Gize thing. That's pretty much just all the good Angel cards. Nothing really to go crazy about. Try to go into Gize and do your thing. Angel Feather's probably, I would say OTT and Angel Feather the best Gize decks right now. I know people do run Shadow Paladin too, but I think this is probably the best one along with OTT. I'm not sure if OTT anymore is that great, but I don't really play Gize too much. I don't really know what else to say about it. So yeah, very diverse results in that top cut there, and it's pretty cool to kind of see. Getting into the standard stuff over here, and I've been saying it for a while in my play groups and my testing groups, like my friends and stuff, like a player that I personally respect and kind of look up to. He's like such a treasure trove of information. He stopped so many like US BCSs and whatnot. He's gone to Worlds. He's convinced that Jet is actually the best deck. And I think both Austria and in America and Rosemont, like, it did hot. It like won everything both times. So there are a couple different builds for it. I just think that right now it's like super solid. We're gonna see set 11 stuff change things up a little bit, but I still think this can play into that meta, maybe take a little bit of a step back, but overall super solid. So what I also really like is this MLB. This is the second MLB we've seen top and qualify for Worlds at this point. Shouts out to Mateo, actually from Long Island, who qualified with the other one back in Toronto. But MLB is actually a really solid deck, especially with the promos. Obviously, we all know Ballista is good, and again, another Jet. So I think we can kind of like solidify that Jet is, again, more so in like the tier 1A kind of conversation, and we can take a step back from like just Gandiva, just Ballista, because there's a lot of depth, I feel like, and if you're a good player with this deck, you can actually probably take it a little bit higher than some of those other ones over time. So getting into it, nothing really absolutely crazy here. I think this is a pretty standard Jet list at this point. I like the inclusion of the what was it, the additional shield that you get from this guy. Just 2 of these is pretty good. 3 is pretty standard for the Chrono Jet. The multi-attacker, we do see Gungarum here. We don't see any oh no, we do see this again. Falke Performer, I think people have kind of moved away from. A lot of people on the Zargon now to kind of fuel their soul and whatnot, but choosing to run the fronts over the draws, I think, is correct as well, because you do deck out, I think, in this deck. Draw a lot, you know, you have that just on hit or just pressure in general all the time. And I think the meta's kind of adapted. Again, the G-Zone, nothing really to kind of go on about there, but meta's kind of adapted where you kind of go into the second Jet on your second stride, which is pretty cool. So getting right into it, the juicy stuff over here, this is going to be the MLB list. I think it's a really cool inclusion to actually see this. I don't think Mateo was running this in Toronto, but if there are no other rear guards, this guy gets 5k. In certain matchups, you're pretty much guaranteed to retire their board based on like the Blaster Dark and all that stuff skill. So it's very easy to kind of get this off, and you get just like an extra attack, which is really cool. Overall, it's a more not reliable, but it's an alternate method to get the extra attack. Otherwise, you can get this over here to do it. The Amaline being reprinted is pretty cool. Definitely needs to still come down in price, but we'll see about that. Maple, again, really solid. Just pop your Vanguard down, get a unit out, maybe suck it into soul, do whatever you want. The Cutie Angel, again, just nice to kind of cycle as well, the cycler card. Very interesting list, and you have the 4 of promo as well over here. So very cool. Again, just a high pressure Vanguard that has that triple drive that can really get you into the late game, I feel like, in terms of survival. I feel like this is a deck that is serious and needs to be taken as such, especially with a good pilot. Like, this person clearly knows, I guess, like the ins and outs of the deck. Definitely is a solid one overall. Ballista list, I looked at this beforehand. It's really just nothing too crazy here. Absolutely the same list as we've been seeing for a long time. You have your draw power, you have, you know, the Euikas, you have pretty much everything. Like, you know, nothing's different enough here to kind of go over or just like take more time kind of doing. So we're going to pass on. I'm not taking away the top from the player at all. Just, you know, there's nothing really that interesting. But again, over here, we're seeing a more standard list over here. We also see the inclusion this time of the cycler card. Now, interesting enough, both of the American ones did not include the grade 3 that, you know, when your opponent hits a trigger, it does certain things. I think their card is good. I don't know 100% if it deserves the slots in the deck. I personally haven't tested too much with Jet. I've played against it a whole bunch, but I think this is an interesting card, and I know a lot of players that are actually telling me this is a good one overall. So maybe that is the key. And again, if you're fearing Gandiva, what is it? This is the multi-attack one, actually, not the crit one. So that's 2 and 2 split. So I guess they are fearing the multi-attack with Ballista and whatnot. So that's actually pretty interesting. But getting into the Austrian results over here for Vienna, again, we see that Chrono Jet won. Like the oh, sorry, did we go over the top 8? We didn't go over the top 8 over here. Let's just do that real quick. 3 Gandiva, none of them qualified actually. 1 Messiah. I think Messiah is still like a solid deck. It's really like basic, but if you just do its game plan, like chances are, you know, it's Vanguard, you're gonna push through, especially if you're a good player. Gandiva is good, but again, I feel like the ceiling, there's a pretty hard ceiling on the deck. It's very easy to reach it, but at the same time, like, you need to survive later into the game, and I feel like Chrono Jet does a little bit better once it's later into it. But going over it again over here for Austria now, Chrono Jet taking first, Ballista second, Gandiva, and then another Chrono Jet. So let's look at the top 8 and see if there's anything interesting. We do see one Zorga here. That's something that has been missing, I guess, from these past 2 that I personally thought would do a little bit better, but overall, it's nice to see one of them at least get into the top 8. But again, 3 Gandiva over here, and only one of them, actually transitioned, and yeah, it did actually qualify. So again, a little bit harder to I guess, to get the maximum value out of this in a way. You know, this is an autopilot deck. The Chrono Jet just has its nice strategy overall. You know, you have to see your pieces with Gandiva, and not saying it's a hard deck necessarily, but it is you know, it's really dependent on what you see, but this is a very interesting build. This is the grade 3 that I was talking about. He does have it at 2 over here. Pretty interesting include. Again, we're seeing the cyclers. He had this card over here too to kind of tuck in instead of like the Gungarum or anything like that. So just deck thinning is actually pretty good in general, and we are still seeing 4 of the Falcate performers, so pretty cool to kind of see that. Only 3 of the GGU2, which is a big difference. So this is a bit of a departure from the lists we've been seeing. And then this one, I guess, for Gandiva, you split the 2/2 extra when your opponent's Vanguard has that extra unit attack means 2 or greater, base 2 or greater. Gets that extra 15. I assume that's for Gandiva, and again the 4/4 split in the G zone there. So next up over here, we'll list this. So again, there's really no variance. I guess this is a different card over here when placed on rear. Give something else 10k. You can buff these guys who like restand, do all that funny stuff, but we're really not seeing anything too crazy. This is an extra card there. Gandiva, is there anything nuts with the Gandiva list? I think it's cool to see what people do run, because there are a couple extra slots in here. I personally do like the Brachioforce, but I've been turned on to another tech that I think might try if I really expect something in the meta, whatever it is. But just a solid deck overall. Again, it's gonna do what it does. If you can survive until the late game, I don't know that there's any deck that can honestly beat this and the numbers that it puts up, but you have to get there at the same time. And then yeah, one of the searchers. So again, just all the 4 of good stuff, nothing too crazy. Lastly, for the Jet, this is the more standard Jet that I think we're used to kind of seeing. This is a more settled list, but he's running this guy at 4 of, so I think, you know, he might be onto something here. I think 2 of is the norm, 4 of is quite a bit, and I think you're trying to save some of your Soul Blast for the GG for other stuff as well. So we'll see if it really, you know, pays off in the long run, or lists kind of adapt that way. But I think 2 of is a little bit more stable, gives you some more room to kind of run some techs in there. But getting on to the cool stuff over here with V, we're gonna go over Austria first. This time this is who got first? Carolus over here. This is somebody, oh my god, I forgot his name, in Centuri or something like that. He's in one of the discords that I'm in, and I saw him actually making this list with Kay, and I think Sage actually worked on this too. So congrats to him, awesome job. Super, you know, happy for you guys. This was a huge list, and I've actually been practicing with that same list over here, and I think it's crazy. Thavas is actually like a very good deck that I kind of underrated until I started picking it up, giving it some test hands, giving it some playtime. Like, I really think that it is very solid, and we see results over here kind of show that. So Solemn actually got 3rd with it. This guy over here, he got 1st. Astral Poet's still popping up, as well as Anj. So Anj won Toronto. Astral Poets, I think, popped up in the top 8 or something like that. And looking at the top 8 here, very interesting. Very, you know, it's what you would expect almost, but again, still pretty diverse. We see one Shahrot, which is actually a really crazy deck. Glendios, if you don't know how to play against this, like, it could be just the worst time ever. So not surprised to see some form of like lock or like Link Joker kind of in this. Andre over here is awesome. You know, very standard. Again, almost like that same Gandiva thing where like the ceiling, you will hit it. It's just like very easy to hit over and over, and you kind of just grow with the game, grow in power as the game goes on. So if you go first, I feel like you have a really good shot of winning every single time. Over here too, we do see the Astral Poet, like I said, and 2 Luard and 2 Aquaforce. So let's hop into the lists. No surprises here. This is pretty cool because I think some people were kind of relying on this card a little bit too much. I think just the 1 of is fine. There's times where like you do get it off. This is great. The Narissa is great. What else over here? The Coral Assault is also an optional thing that some people run, some people don't, but I think the ratio of 3, one of the extra ripples, just a very generic restand towards the end of the game, can be absolutely like mind-blowingly tough to get over. So very good list over there. Over here too, for the Astral Poets, I mean, this is the same list we've been seeing for like almost years now. I think that it is correct to run 4 of these, but if you are afraid of like what is it, Grand Blue or something, like you could technically run 1 if you wanted to, one of the draws. And over here again, another Thavas list, and we see that this time around they prioritize a little bit more of the grade 2 searcher, which is cool, but I feel like sometimes in the attack pattern makes things a little bit awkward. 2 of the Kelpie, 4 of that guy, 3 of that guy. Yeah, everything's pretty normal here. An extra 1 of the Baragios as well. So again, more or less a lot of the same. I think, oh, what is this? No, it is 2-2. It's 2-2, 4-4. Yeah. Pretty settled list, honestly. Just very good, puts up great numbers. Resource engine is solid for it, and just, yeah, does what it does over and over. Same kind of thing with this right here. I don't know that there's much else to say. This list has been around for a long time. The 4 Anj. How many Tiro? We got 1. I think that's 2, just 2 Tiro. I've seen 3. You can go 2 if you're, you know, if you feel confident enough overall. 2 of the Cyclers over here, the Sarias. Three, I'm sorry, there's different rarities here, so I'm trying to piece it together. Three of the Aquas, which is a great card. One of this is good too, putting normal units back into your drop. 4 Lieselets. I mean, the pressure this deck puts on early is just amazing, and we actually do see that instead of the Soul Charger and the one that pops out, we are seeing this Mermaid Idol Lily. So if you are more worried about like Grand Blue or like Luar, things like that, I think that this is a better meta call than that other card that can rush you down. You know, because you kind of rely on going first with that one. And then obviously the Murtoa too, to get like that extra little oomph when you do attack, which is pretty cool. Yeah, hopping right into it. And then for Rosemont, I don't have a visual. Oh yeah, thank you for Fuzzy Paradox, by the way, for doing all this stuff. I should have shouted him out at the beginning, but this is all, you know, Fuzzy's visuals, so thank you so much. But getting into the Rosemont V, this just like ended, like, yeah, they just posted this an hour ago at the time of recording, so I don't have the visual for it. But over here, the top 4, we can see Ty Smith over there, our favorite Narukami player. Over here, Grand Blue, it looks like it won it based on the list that they provided right there. I don't know if, yeah, no, they said it in order, so this is what I'm assuming to be correct at least. So over here, we do have 1, 2, 3 Beatrice, 4 Night Rose, 3 of the Skull Dragons. Yeah, pretty normal list. There's really nothing out of the ordinary. I think some of the ratios, we do have 4 of this, which is not super common. I think we typically see these guys bumped up a little bit more, but 4 of them is not incorrect. 3 of the Ghosty as well. We get into then the Luar. The Luar list is pretty solid, just very normal. It does include the bat. Sometimes you see it with, sometimes you see it without. There are a lot of different options. This is like a toolboxy kind of deck, 2 different variants of that. 2 of, I like the 2 of this one over here. I end up running into this quite a bit. 4 of the Leofold, yeah, 3 of her. So this is a very solid, tried and true list. Nothing else really more to say. And again, same thing with this, the ratios. Yeah, we see less of this one. It's kind of to be expected. I don't know if the other one had ghost ships. Did it have ghost ships? Yeah, it still had 2. Yeah, 4 of this guy instead, 4 of this guy instead, and that's where the extra 2 space kind of came in. But 2 of this, 3 of that, 4 of that. Yeah, no, that's all just about right. Yeah, and there's 4 of this guy right here, 4 of the Greed Shade. So that pretty much does it for our results. This is the last one over here with the Luard list, and again, it's almost the same. You just have 2 of the Nightmare Painters. Don't have any of, oh, actually we do have the Beat Stick one. Don't have the guy that drags things to the rearguard circle. I think that was the difference. But yeah, overall very solid. I don't think that anything was out of the ordinary. I think Davis probably doing as well in Europe was not something we expected, but again, these are pretty good players. I know, again, the guy who topped, who's actually very good, is well respected, at least in my circle that I play test with and stuff, so definitely not surprised that he won. Overall, very cool. Awesome for all you guys who did top, all you guys who got the results that you were looking for. Anybody who just competed this weekend, like, definitely enjoy it. And if you guys are interested in purchasing any cards that you see all here today, we do have a DCG player link down in the description below. Absolutely no cost to you. Shop that link. It's help support the channel. Thank you in advance. If you are enjoying the content, make sure you leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you in advance. Again, this is Alex from Alex CFV signing out.